Okay, let's look at Canadian currency. The pennies I have are kind of marked up, so it's hard to tell. But the pennies have maple leaves on them. You can barely see. If I angle it just right, you might see it. If it focuses, it's not going to focus. Okay. If I move the phone, there we go. That's about as good as you'll get. See the maple leaves? That's a Canadian penny. Maple leaves on one side. And Queen Elizabeth on the other. Again, not a very good. It's not coming out very well, I'm afraid. It looks awful. Anyway, that's a Canadian penny. These have been discontinued as of a few years ago. They're no longer accepted as currency. So we don't use those anymore. But after that, next up, we have the 5-cent piece. The penny there is 1 cent, of course. But we don't use it anymore. There's the 5-cent piece with the beaver on it. There you go. The beaver. 5 cents. Okay. Yeah, the 5-cent piece is kind of pretty, really. And we'll get a better picture of the Queen. That penny was so scarred up, it made the Queen look like she's got a double chin or something. It was weird. Like she was deformed. But there's a better picture, hopefully. Oh, that looks like Abraham Lincoln. There we go. There's the Queen. Looks like she's got a beard on or something. I don't know what the story is with these. Oh, it's showing up in the camera. Must be the way the light's hitting it. Anyway, there's the Queen on the back of the nickel. There, that's not too bad. It came in brief. There we go. Yeah, anyway. That's the Queen on the nickel, the 5-cent piece. Now we got the 10-cent piece. The 10-cent piece, that ship you see there, that sailing ship, was called the Bluenose. And it was actually a racing schooner. And it won a big race in the 1930s. It was kind of a famous thing anyway, the Bluenose. And that's a Canadian dime, or a 10-cent piece. When I was a little kid, if you had one of these, you had the world right by the you-know-what. I'll tell you. You could buy stuff. If you had a dime, you were rich. And there's another picture of the Queen. Again, these pictures of the Queen are ugly. Holy smokes, when you look at them through the phone especially. My goodness. I think she should have had the artist beheaded, myself. In the old days, that's what would happen. Here we go, back in the 1500s, that's what would happen. Okay, now we got the quarter, which is a quarter because it's a quarter of a dollar, or 25 cents, because of course there's 100 cents in a Canadian dollar. Basically, 100 pennies gives you a dollar. This is 25 cents, and so it's a quarter of a dollar. It has a picture of a caribou. On one side, that's not a moose, that's actually a caribou. A lot of people make that mistake, which is understandable because they all look alike. I'm not racist against moose and caribou. When I say they all look alike, I don't mean it in a racist way, so please don't please don't report me for racial issues or whatever. He's racist. He says all those things, they look alike. They all look alike. You know. I will say that caribou is a credit to caribous, though. Oh, I better be careful. Here we go. There's the Queen again. My goodness. I've never seen that picture like this before. I've never looked at it that closely. The artist really did a smear job on it. Well, maybe that is what she looked like. I mean, she was quite old when this was done, but still, man, oh man. All right, we'll put that one aside there. We'll look at the next one now. Our dollar coin. We have a dollar coin. We haven't had a paper dollar since 1986. In 1986, they changed to a coin. So there's our Canadian dollar is actually a coin. The bird swimming there is called a loon. And people called a Canadian dollar coin a loonie. So that's what we call that, a loonie. So if you're in Canada and somebody says, hey, can you spare a loonie? This is what they're looking for. They're not looking for you to give them your crazy cousin Fred or whatever. This is what they want right here, a loonie. This is what they're talking about. You can't buy anything with this anymore because everything's expensive here now. But if you have a few of these, you might get a cup of coffee. And there's that awful picture of the Queen again. Yep, there she is. Anyway, now after that, our $2 coin. This is our $2 coin. I'll show you here in a minute as soon as I get it up here. There it is. That's a $2 coin. And of course, we call this a toonie. A toonie. So we have our loonie and we have our toonie. And we haven't had a $2 paper bill here since 1996. They started using $2 coins in 1996. And they phased out the $2 paper bill. And of course, on the coin is a polar bear. I'll angle it a bit here. Maybe you can get a better look. I don't know. Anyway, this coin's kind of scarred up looking at it. But that's a polar bear. Okay. Now we turn it over here and we'll look at the other side. And again, we got a picture of the Queen. There it is. That's the Queen. Queen Elizabeth. Okay. Now on to the good stuff. We got the paper money, which is now plastic, actually. A few years ago, we went to plastic bills. Here we go. This is the $5 bill. There's some talk of changing this into a coin, but it hasn't happened yet. This is the $5 bill. That's one of our dead prime ministers on it there. There's the back of the $5 bill. There's a ghost there, you can see. Well, he is dead after all, so there he is in ghost form. There it is. That's a $5 bill. Okay, let's move on to the $10 bill. Now, usually the $10 bill doesn't have this lady on it. This is a special edition of the $10 bill. This lady, and again, I can't remember her name. I did this in the last video where I talked about currency too. But I do know the story. This lady, she was a black lady who lived in Nova Scotia in the 1940s, and there was some segregation there. And if a black person went to a movie theater, they were legally required to sit in the balcony. They couldn't sit down on the first level. Only the white people could do that. And she refused to do that. She sat down on the first level, and I guess the movie theater people tried to get her to go upstairs, but she said no. She was fed up being treated differently, you know. And so they called the police on her, and she was charged, and I believe she had to pay a fine because she broke the law or whatever against black people being down in amongst the white people. And so, anyway, she's kind of our version of Rosa Parks, I guess, in a way, because what she did was similar in a way. And so, yeah, there she is anyway. Believe it or not, we did have laws like that in Canada, too, at one time. And as recently as the 1940s, we had them, which I know to many of us that seems like a long time ago, but relative to time, it really isn't, you know. Anyway, moving on. This is our $20 bill, and of course it again has a picture of the Queen, which isn't very flattering. Why does she always look like she's got a beard? Honestly, I don't know. There's the Queen, though, anyway. There's the Queen on our $20 bill. When you have a $20 bill, then you can start the shop. When you get up to $20, then you might actually be able to get a few grocery items or whatever. Like you might be able to buy a box of cereal and some milk and maybe a loaf of bread with $20 right now. Anyway, there we go. If you're lucky, if you get them on sale, you get all three of those things. Then you can have breakfast. Here we go now. Anyway, there's the $20 bill. I believe that's some sort of a war memorial, but don't quote me on that. I may be mistaken. But I believe so. There's poppies on there too, so that's probably right, but I'm not 100% certain of it. If anybody wants to mention it in the comments and say, That'll be okay. You can tell me what it is if you know, because I'm not really educated in that regard as to what that is. Now here we have another $100 bill with another dead prime minister on it. Again, I don't know which one, but this is a $100 bill. Now this is normally the highest denomination of currency we have, at least commonly in use. There was a $1,000 bill, but I believe they've been taken out of circulation. But we did have a $1,000 bill at one time, but not really. Who uses $1,000 bills, really? So, other than just for the novelty of it, there'd be no reason to keep a $1,000 bill around. But imagine taking a $1,000 bill into a store to buy, I don't know, a pack of gum or something, you know. They wouldn't be too impressed with you. You probably wouldn't be able to do it. Anyway, this is a $100 bill. $100 Canadian. And again, I'm not too sure. There's some lady looking through a microscope. This might have to do with insulin, actually. It might. It might have to do with insulin. Does it say that? Because insulin was yeah, it does, insulin. Because insulin was actually, the idea of using insulin to treat diabetes, that idea was developed in Canada, so that'd be the reason for that. Anyway, there's the, there's all the money. As you can see, I'm loaded, but don't any of you ladies get any ideas now. I've been burned too many times, so just because I got money, don't think you're going to take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. I got money and a sense of humor, and they still don't like me. That's all right, though. I'm okay. I've got my Rocky cat to keep me company, and I get to look at this every day. So I'm all right. Anyway, that's enough for now. Just thought I'd show you all that. There it is. That's our Canadian money. Doesn't go very far these days, unfortunately. Talk to you all later.